Hello, Ncia Clapper here from Coach and Cia. I am a GLP-1 strategist and mindset coach. I've been doing coaching for women on GLP-1 medication for at least about a year now, and I myself am on Zepbound. I started in January 2024, and it's been over 2 years now. So exciting. The stat that most of you care about right away is I have lost a total of 65 pounds on Zepbound and a total of 85 pounds because I started trying to lose weight before I got on these medications. And that is part of where a lot of my skill comes from, learning the adaptation that I need to make before I started the medication, improved how this journey felt for me from the start. So anyway, today I actually want to talk to you about something a little spicy, a little controversial. Most people really do not like it when I talk about this, and that is daily weigh-ins. So, depending on how long you've been on this journey, you may have an opinion about why daily weigh-ins is important. And I do not know how this happened, but somehow weighing in daily became like an expected part of an unwritten rule on GLP-1 medication. And I think it's like one of the most crappiest, almost dangerous roles that someone on GLP-1 medication could take on as you're trying to lose weight. And before you like roll your eyes and get upset, or if I'm triggering you by saying that you need to change your relationship with the scale, I just want you to hold on. The reason I came here to YouTube to have this conversation is to have a longer dialogue about it. Therefore, maybe you can hear what I'm saying and then decide what makes sense for you. A belief that I've had for the past year and a half now, when I work with the women in coaching in my GLP-1 membership. This is something that I have like a whole lesson on within my courses. We talk about it heavily. And it is not that my purpose of that is not that you can't participate in daily. No, that's not. My hope is that I inform you about the impact of daily weigh-ins on your weight loss journey. And then you decide what you want to do from there. Okay. Like, that's always my philosophy when I turn things in there. Okay, so with daily weigh-ins, once we start, we may be coming to this journey with our own experiences of the scale, right? So if you've dealt with obesity for a large time of your life, you probably had a pretty shitty relationship with the scale to begin with. Whether you avoided it at all costs because it just gave you a number that you knew you were going to be upset about, or you weighed in very regularly and were so aware of the fact that the scale just refused to move despite what you did. No matter what, there's some trauma, some pain that we are bringing in to our GLP-1 journey. Because let's be honest, most people don't just start GLP-1 medication for weight loss under something like Wegovy or Zepbound. So you've gone through your doctors, you've hit the requirements that are there in order to be approved for medication like this. And you've dealt with things that led you to that moment, right? Obesity isn't just like some random thing that just happens spontaneously for a majority of people, if not that. It's a multifactorial complex disease, a chronic disease that we are likely battling for a length of time. So because of that, I want to tell you what I think happens with regular weigh-ins. So the first thing that I believe happens is when you first start these medications, you have a lot of expectations, right? Like you've all seen online the content about like dropping 5 pounds a week. Some people even lost like 10 pounds in their first week when they started these medications. It's not unheard of. I mean, it is if you think of like the whole population of people on GLP-1 medications, but it is not unheard of on social media for the ones that go viral because they lost a crazy amount of weight on these medications on a weekly basis, right? So when we go into it, we're like, oh, we're definitely going to start losing right away. But your first 4 weeks on these medications are the starter dose. It's actually not even like a weight management dose for most people. There are some that can be fairly sensitive to it, but I'm going to right now speak to the general public, the normal expectations, what I call normal responders, not slow responders, just like what you typically would expect based on data, not based on social media, okay? So, but we go into it thinking social media, even though logically we know the data, especially if you're on this channel, most of the women that follow me, or even some men that do, you are already very much rooted in evidence-based journey. So you've done the research, you haven't just like kind of, randomly decided to do this. I mean, you took quite a while to make an educated decision and figure out how to make this work, how to make it financially work, all of that. So I want to honor that and not take away from recognizing that uniqueness about how the people in my community, the ones that are following me across any platform, how that makes them so unique from maybe some other spaces in the GLP-1 community. Now, back to this relationship that we come into this journey with. So you're coming into this journey with nonstop like opinions about the scale. You start and you know via social media that you can expect a lot of weight loss in the first month because some people do, right? And then you realize that, hey, you're not really losing that much weight because guess what? We're actually kind of a normal responder. If you lost like maybe a pound or so, that's super awesome. The expectation is not there for you to lose weight in your first month. If you get this video before you ever start these medications, you're very lucky because I want you to know that. First month is literally just to make sure your body can handle these medications. It's to transition you. They don't want to just throw you into a full weight management dose because that's how you get side effects that are just very difficult to manage. So you start on, like, if you're on Zepbound, you start on 2.5. I personally lost like a couple of pounds, but I was starting at almost like 300 pounds when I started this journey. So if that's not where you started and you did not have much of a loss, I would not be surprised. Like, that would make sense to me if you came to me to tell me that. And for some people, it could take a couple doses to get to that space. I'm so glad you're here because I'm going to give you a couple really, really important details. This is why people call me the strategist. I'm a GLP-1 strategist for things like this, okay? So not only is the first month a starter dose, it also takes your body about 4 weeks to get to steady state. And steady state means that you are keeping about the same level of dose in your system for the full week. Because these medications have a half-life. If I'm saying a bunch of words that are stressing you out, like, don't worry, just hang out with me, okay? This is going to be really good for you to be aware about. So steady state is meaning that the medication is kind of staying at the same level. It's going to control your needs at the same level from Monday through Sunday, okay? Then there is the aspect of half-life, which is what is playing out in our first month of any dose, okay? Our first month of any dose, the half-life is 5 days on Zepbound. So in the first 5 days is when, after the first 5 days, it starts decreasing the amount that you have in your body. And when it is at peak, kind of depends on your own body. So you got to watch and see, like, way I judge myself to know is, one, do I have the most symptoms? If you have no symptoms, it might be harder to notice, but there's usually some indicators, such as your appetite level. If you happen to just more likely forget meal times and eat later, like, those are indicators that you're probably in the higher part of your serum levels. So in typically be from 24 to 48 hours is what you can expect from dose day to peak levels. And so there's a lot of what I just shared with you. That may either feel like nothing or that might feel like a lot, but I'm going to really give you some powerful information here. This is not at all what I planned to share, but I'm going to do it because I love you guys and I haven't been here in forever. And I haven't really given this level of information in a while. So let's do it. Let's just kind of get into it. If you are changing your dose, it makes sense if you do not experience full control that you expected for the full week. I remember I actually went viral. My first video ever, I was such a very, very small creator. At the time, I had just started sharing my journey about like 6 months in. And I made this meme it's just about like how I'm eating like a salad for the first 5 days, for like the first 6 days. And on day 7, I'm eating ice cream, or like I'm just eating a lot more calories, right, than I would the other days. And I didn't understand that. And honestly, nobody did, because that's the reason it went viral. That wasn't a thing that us as patients understood about GLP-1 medication. But now I know. And maybe some people kind of share this a lot more these days. But I'm saying but a lot. When you take your dose, whatever day your dose is, you're going to now know in the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm going to hit the max amount of like strength, like max strength. Okay, that's probably an easier way to say it. So plan accordingly. If you get a ton of symptoms and you have a job that you have to leave your home for, probably don't take that middle of the week or early in the week, so you're not dealing with symptoms through your workday. And if you can like have a more chill weekend, everything's fine. If you can have a more chill weekend, then that's the way to go about it. Or your alternative is like, if your weekdays are harder for you to manage your appetite, let's say you work with a bunch of people that tend to order out a lot of your favorite places, and so having some more control and having some more strength of Zepbound or any of whatever weight loss medication that you have been using is more helpful during the weekday, then you want to plan accordingly. And you might want to get your dose in on a Sunday or a Monday, maybe even Tuesday. Just plan accordingly now that you know the 24 to 48 hour window. And it'll kind of stay steady and go down. As you get to the 4-week mark of a dose, your levels of these medications will remain more steady across time. So it won't feel as significant as it might in the first month. For me personally, I know it also felt more significant when it was clearly time for me to change my dose. I didn't use that as an indicator. I didn't actually use that as data and make the change of the dose at that time. If you are curious, I have the GLP-1 Ultimate Strategy Playbook that I explain how I make these decisions on, okay, it's time to make a dose change, or if it's time to make a behavioral change to my life, improve my habits, improve my routines, like where the change needs to be. I have an excellent course about it. I think it's the only kind of course that exists out there that tackles how to actually troubleshoot your way through a stall, any kind of problem that you run into. I have like 9 different components of our lives that impact our weight and a checklist to let you, it's fun, but this is not about that. So, but these are just like things for you to be aware of, like how this dosing is working. Is if you understand it at like a higher level, you just have more control about what you're doing, the decisions you're making along the way. I want to swing back to my original topic. I think we did a good job of covering really great things to know with where in the week your dose is strongest. I'm going to bring that back to weigh-ins. So when you're weighing in on these medications, if you start off with weekly weigh-ins, you may notice that like you're not getting much of. When you start off with weekly weigh-ins, it seems that typical default weekly weigh-in day is shot day. It's like, well, that's when we're doing the data. We're putting in what day we took our shot, what the dose was, where we took it. Hopefully we're taking at least some of these some of this data down. And then we get on the scale and get the other measurements. But if you think about what I just shared, how our dose doesn't stay the same the whole time, so that's going to impact like the inflammation in our body, and our swelling, our water, like if that is an issue that you're dealing with. For me, it is. And also you probably eat a little bit more in the last day or two, right before that weigh-in day, right? So people started to work around that concept by, I'll just weigh in daily. If I weigh in daily, then I catch it all. It doesn't matter that I happen to weigh in on the day that I am at my highest or close to my highest of the week. It's better if I just do it every single day. Okay. I mean, I personally feel like you could just do that maybe a couple times and understand the pattern. That's what I would recommend to you. But what really happens is you start getting on the scale daily to see what's happening. So you become more self-aware, and also neutralizes the beliefs that you have about the scale, except you're not doing any actual work to shift your beliefs and change the connection that your brain has between you and the scale, except more external validation by getting on the scale, and that scale is giving you some positive. So now you're creating a totally different loop, okay, in your brain, where I get on the scale every day, and the scale is either going to stay the same or go down. And I want to be clear on this because this is really not how normal weight loss goes, right? This is unique to us on our GLP-1 journey, and probably weight loss surgery as well. But again, I'm just going to stay focused on Zepbound and Wegovy experience here. So there is research that says daily weigh-ins improves your weight loss results. So there's also data that says like daily weigh-ins makes you obsessed with your weight, but there's a lot of research that goes into the fact that when you get in on the scale daily, you do break the connection that you have with the scale. It becomes more like a routine thing that you're experiencing. But the reason that happens in those scenarios is that the scale is going to fluctuate. It's going to go up and down, because that's what happens in real life outside of GLP-1. But within GLP-1 world, in that first 6 months, it is less likely that you are dealing with that much fluctuation. If you've been in this journey for a while, you might be like, no, there's fluctuations all the time. But like, if you really think about the first 6 months of this journey, if you've been on like one dose for 6 months, then these are some variations here. But let's say you stayed on the dose for like 2 to 3 months each. Your first 6 months, you're probably going to be seeing some consistent results, hopefully. And you are creating this like positive connection to the scale. So you went from a negative connection to a positive connection. And I believe now that the worst thing that we can do for ourselves on this weight loss journey is create that connection, because it gets incredibly detrimental to our mindset as we continue. Because here's what happens after 6 months. The weight loss gets more consistent. So you start getting on that scale daily, but you already had that relationship with the scale in the middle where things were going really well. Like, I like to think of it like a toxic relationship, right? So it's the part of your relationship where things are going like, he's bringing you flowers. At the beginning, it's like he's bringing you flowers, he's taking you on dates, he's like he's talking, communicating with you all the time, and then things turn because you're in six months in, it's getting steady, and he doesn't. The fun is gone, or whatever, the reason for the toxicness of your relationship. And so he pulls away. Same kind of feelings that come up with the scale. Because all of a sudden the scale starts betraying us, and we're like, I put in the work. Why is it not showing? It would have shown up last week. Why is it not showing today? Something must be wrong with me. And it becomes so much more emotional response that happens because of the amount of time we were getting this positive reinforcement from an external source, okay? I truly believe that if you can avoid making that connection completely, you can go through this journey without being as impacted. So I have something that I have discovered, created, that's called the shot stages. I'll include the blog post on here as well. I realized, based on my own personal data, what I tracked of how my mental health was, how I was like, my habits, all of that in my journey across about 15 months, about a year and a half, by the time I came to this like theory, is that there are 5 shot stages that we go through in our journey on GLP-1 medication. And these stages occur when you're just doing the normal thing without specifically getting support for your mindset. It's very rare that someone is getting active support for your mindset by somebody who understands a weight loss journey of this magnitude. If you are working intensely with a psychologist and getting counseling, you are also better protected from these issues. Either way, I want you to be aware it is normal at this moment to experience these stages. Around 6 months, I talk about what I call the roller coaster stage. And that's when things are not 100% always going perfectly. There are more times you get on the scale and it's like the same number when you thought it'd be less. From 6 to 9 months, I'm pretty sure that's my burnout phase. And that's when you're getting on the scale and it's not giving you that positive reinforcement. And it is starting to feel like something must be wrong with you. But it's not. It's not. Nothing's wrong with you because it is normal. The first 6 months of this journey tend to be our most productive of our weight loss because our body is just getting these medications in us and we just have the most suppression. Like if we're just like being completely upfront, like that is what's most powerful at that time. And you're like super motivated, like you just started this whole journey and you're excited and you're able to leverage that to change enough of what you need to in order to get the results you're looking for. Now, in the way I recommend it is if you just make sure that you pick a better day to weigh in. So I think the best times to weigh in, if you're going to do a weekly weigh in, is either 2 days before your shot day or 2 days after your shot day. I think 2 days before your shot day might be like more of a higher number than the 2 days after your shot day. I personally prefer to get the higher number than the lowest number because I would say the 2 days after your shot day are likely to be your lowest number. And if you just continuously track that and not get on the scale every day, put the scale away, whatever you need to do. You also do not need to necessarily weigh in that regularly, but if you are struggling to eat regular, if you're missing meals and stuff, you need to know that you're not going down in weight too fast. There is such thing as too fast. You don't want to have your muscles impacted any more than they are with just regular large scale weight loss. So this is the perspective I come to with the statements that I make about, break up with your scale, don't be weighing in, don't weigh in daily. And if you are early enough in your journey that you're not like obsessively weighing in every single morning, then you can just hopefully easily make the decision, if it's the right call for you, about setting more of a boundary with the scale. Again, just like imagine it as a toxic ex, okay? Or just like a guy you're dating and it could become a toxic ex situation. You're just gonna set a firm boundary. I'll see you in a week. I can't see you every night. I got other things to do. I got other friends to see. So whatever you need to do, or just like physically put it away. The next thing is if you are already doing daily weigh-ins and you're still in your first 6 months of doing this, challenge yourself to decrease. Like even if you can't get to like weekly, like I have one of my clients, she was just telling me she's about like 3 times a week right now. Fine. But there is a huge difference between 3 times a week, how we feel about it, than every single day. And again, when you are doing it every single day, that scale is deciding for you what kind of day you're having. And you don't even realize like how reactive we can be after having that history of obesity and like dealing with seeing the scale again. It can trigger us to be like, oh my gosh, am I going to fail again? Is this the end? Is this all I could lose? And we can feel like that from one time of a stall. Again, it is the likeliest to be a problem for those that ended up weighing in daily. But here's what I want to explain to you. If you're weighing in daily, it's not your fault. Like, I'm not saying like people who are weighing in daily are wrong. There are doctors out there that are actively reminding everyone to weigh in daily. That it's the best thing you can do. There are a lot of large creators that are out there saying weighing in daily is what kept me losing my weight. So I know I'm challenging the norm, but I hope that you heard the full arc of my conversation here with you about how this actually influences things. From how our dose timing of the week and how weighing in regularly There are better ways that we can spend our mornings than visiting the scale. The data that your brain needs to like disconnect the strong negative feelings from the scale can still be accomplished by weekly weigh-ins. It'll just take a little bit longer, maybe. If you are weighing in daily and you really believe that you're breaking that bond, that negative, the trauma that you had with the scale by just going on the scale every single day, you aren't really breaking it, you're replacing it, right? You replaced it with a positive relationship, but that might seem good, but a positive relationship is still, you're getting feedback from an external source. And the only feedback you really want to get is the internal validation of what you're doing. Like, why? Because that scale is not in your control. You don't get to tell it, okay. And you also put yourself at risk because those regular weigh-ins, you know how much you ate. You know if you missed a meal or not. And you start realizing that, yeah, if I miss a meal, and the scale reacts right away, sometimes, then you might start making some unhealthy choices, right? Because that's the thing. When we are so involved with the scale, it is much easier to keep it in the front of our mind in everything that we're doing. I'm 2 years into this journey at this point. I'm over 2 years now. And I personally get on the scale maybe once a month. I do that because I know that I've been on the same dose for over a year. I'm not ready to increase my dose, not because I'm still losing weight on it necessarily, but because I know I have other things I want to tackle my sleep before I get to the last dose. 15 milligrams is the last dose that I have available to increase to, and I don't want to do that until my ducks are in a row. So what you can decide on this is there something more to daily weigh-ins? Is there a different way that you can track everything? Do you need to track that type of thing? I just think we can all create some better boundaries with our scale and recognize the impact of it. Let me know if you got to the end of this video, if you liked what I shared. I know this is a lot of like theoretical thing, like I'm now coming to you with scientific facts and research because the research kind of negates each other, and there's not technically research on people on GLP-1 medications weighing in daily with their exact mindset are like that doesn't exist right now. But I know in my heart that one of my jobs as a GLP-1 coach and a creator on online content is to share the impact of daily weigh-ins, the real impact of daily weigh-ins from a real patient perspective of somebody who has to lose like half my weight. That's the goal. That will be the goal to get to the healthy mark. Let me know in the comments. Do you weigh in daily right now? What is your relationship with the scale? And did you learn anything in this video? Was there anything new to you, whether it's about the daily weigh-ins or the dose timing or, anything here? It's been a while since I've been here. I'm not sure who's necessarily following these videos. I will, of course, send it out to my email list as well. If you're not on my email list, you totally should be. I share these really random thoughts and opinions and speculations and advice and tips in my email almost daily. I think it's totally the space to be. If you want one-to-one support, I'm actually offering 2 spots right now for one-to-one coaching. And again, this is just like one piece of the puzzle that we can explore to get you to the goal that you want. But the way I work, it's not really about the weight loss. The weight loss will come. It will. It is about what type of person we're becoming, how we can do this in a way that we love the life we're creating and start loving it right away. So that's the type of coaching that I do. All the tools. So like if you are interested, just reach out to me. You can email me, DM me on Instagram is usually the easiest way to chat back and forth. And I will leave some other resources that I have in the links below. So explore, see what you need. If you don't know what you need, but you're looking to be directed a certain way, let me know. I've got free resources, I've got paid resources, I've got all kinds of different things. Want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're taking some time to explore your mindset through this, because that's going to be the way we actually stay successful. I can't wait to touch base again. We shall talk soon.